The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the dusty border town of Rio Mesa, a quiet place where nothing much ever seemed to happen, at least on the surface. But the residents of Rio Mesa knew better. Beneath the town's sleepy exterior was a dark undercurrent of crime. Whispers of human smuggling operations had been spreading for months, but no one dared to confront it. People were scared, and for good reason. That fear didn't sit well with Jack Harlan, a retired Army Ranger who had moved to Rio Mesa after his service. Jack wasn't the kind of man to back down from a fight, especially when innocent people were being hurt. He'd seen too much in his years overseas to let injustice slide, and when he caught wind of the smuggling ring operating right under everyone's noses, he knew he had to act. Jack had noticed the signs: trucks coming in late at night, strange activity at the old warehouse on the edge of town, and families disappearing without a trace. The authorities seemed uninterested or too afraid to intervene, but Jack knew he couldn't sit by and do nothing. He stood on his front porch, sipping a cup of black coffee, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon. The warehouse loomed in the distance, a decrepit building surrounded by barbed wire and broken-down vehicles. Tonight, Jack decided, would be the night he put an end to it. As night fell, Jack geared up. His military training kicked in as he strapped on a tactical vest, packed a flashlight, and tucked a knife into his boot. He wasn't going in looking for a fight, but he was prepared if it came to that. He approached the warehouse carefully, keeping to the shadows. The building was surrounded by trucks with tinted windows and guards posted at the entrance. Jack recognized one of the men, Hector Vargas, a known trafficker with a history of violence. Jack had crossed paths with men like Vargas before, men who preyed on the vulnerable for profit. They never changed. Jack waited, watching the guards' movements, noting their patrol patterns. When the moment was right, he slipped through a gap in the fence and made his way toward the building. Inside, the warehouse was a hive of activity. Dozens of people were crammed into makeshift holding areas. Families huddled together, their faces etched with fear and exhaustion. Jack's jaw clenched as he took in the scene. These weren't criminals. They were desperate people, tricked and trapped by the smuggling ring. From a shadowed corner, Jack watched as Vargas paced the room, barking orders to his men. "We're moving the next group tonight," Vargas growled. "No screw-ups, the border's tighter than ever, and we can't afford any mistakes." Jack's gaze hardened. These people weren't just being smuggled across the border. They were being exploited, used, and discarded. It wasn't just a crime, it was a business of human suffering, and Jack wasn't going to let it continue. Jack moved silently through the warehouse, his boots barely making a sound on the concrete floor. He approached a group of captives, crouching low to speak to them. "Stay calm," he whispered. "I'm here to help. When the time comes, be ready to move." A young boy, no older than 10, clung to his mother's arm, his wide eyes filled with both fear and hope. Jack gave the boy a reassuring nod before slipping back into the shadows. The plan was simple: cause a distraction, take out Vargas's men, and get the captives to safety. But simple didn't mean easy. Jack found the control panel for the warehouse's power system. He pulled out a knife and severed the main line, plunging the building into darkness. "What the hell?" Vargas shouted, his voice echoing through the pitch-black warehouse. "Get the lights back on!" Chaos erupted. Guards scrambled to find flashlights, their beams cutting through the dark like searchlights. But Jack moved faster. One by one, he took down the guards with swift, calculated precision. A punch to the jaw, a chokehold from behind. His years of training made him a ghost in the dark, striking without being seen. Vargas, meanwhile, was growing increasingly frantic. "Find him! Whoever's in here, find him!" Jack's voice cut through the darkness like a knife. "You don't need to find me, Vargas. I'll find you." Vargas froze, his bravado slipping for a moment. "Who the hell are you?" Jack stepped into the light of one of the remaining flashlights, his face calm, but his eyes burning with fury. "I'm someone who doesn't tolerate people like you." Vargas's hand twitched toward his waistband, reaching for a gun, but Jack was faster. He lunged forward, grabbing Vargas's wrist and twisting it hard. The gun clattered to the floor. "You've been profiting off these people's misery," Jack growled, his grip tightening. "That ends tonight." Vargas struggled, but Jack didn't let up. He pinned Vargas to the ground, tying his hands with a piece of rope he'd taken from the warehouse. The captives began to emerge from their hiding spots, their fear slowly replaced by relief. Jack turned to them, his voice steady. "You're safe now. Let's get you out of here." With Vargas subdued and the guards taken out, Jack led the captives out of the warehouse and towards safety. The moonlight illuminated their path as they moved toward town, where Jack had already contacted a local humanitarian group to assist them. As they reached the edge of Rio Mesa, Jack turned to the group. "You don't owe me anything. Just make sure you don't let anyone take advantage of you again." The young boy from earlier approached Jack, his mother by his side. "Thank you," the boy said softly, his voice filled with gratitude. Jack knelt down, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Stay strong, kid. You've got a bright future ahead." The next morning, the residents of Rio Mesa woke to news of the bust at the warehouse. The authorities arrived to find Vargas and his men tied up, waiting to be taken into custody. No one knew exactly who had taken down the operation, but whispers of a man in a military jacket spread through the town. Jack Harlan stood on his porch, watching the sun rise over the horizon. He wasn't looking for recognition or praise. He did what he always did, fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves. As the wind rustled through the fields, Jack took a deep breath. Rio Mesa was safe once again. For now.